Hello everyone, welcome you all in this session. Myself, Assistant Professor Ripal Gupta from LJ School of Law. Today we are going to discuss on the subject of legal theory, and the topic of discussion is sources of law. Now, what is sources of law? Sources of law means from where can be emerged, a law can be formed. So there are a number of sources of law from where we can draft our law, or we can say from where the law has been emerged. So we're going to discuss on this topic. So primary, there are four types of sources of law. One is legislation, second is custom, third is precedent, and fourth is statutes. Now let us start with the part of legislation. Now what is legislation? Legislation means the authority who basically make the laws in any country. For example, in India, we have two authorities who can make the laws. One is parliament, second is state assemblies. So we have three lists over here where you can see that in the three lists, the authority, the parliament and state assembly has power to make laws like center list, state list and concurrent list. In center list, only parliament has power to make the laws for India. In state list, the state parties have power, and that means state assemblies have power to make the laws for India. And concurrent list, both center and state both have the power to make the laws in India. So there are two types of legislation, supreme and subordinate. Let us understand the supreme legislation. Supreme means the authority, the main authority who has power to make laws comes into supreme legislation. So when we say parliament and state assembly, they are the supreme legislation because they have the authority to make the laws. So basically legislation means the authority who has power to make laws. When they draft the laws, it becomes a legislation. So supervision means that from statute or from the authoritative power you draft laws for any country or any state, it becomes legislation. So for us, we can say parliament and state assemblies are the supreme legislation who can make the laws for India, and we have to abide by that because they have the constant power to make the laws for India. So it is based on the sovereignty. You can see this in India. Parliament has sovereignty to make the laws. If they are making laws, we have to abide by it. That means they have the supreme authority to make the laws. So the supreme legislation has the sovereign power, sovereign authority to make the laws. So in any state, state assembly has power to make any law for the particular state, and state people has to follow it. So same way, even center make any law for Indian people, they have to follow it. So wherever legislation has been passed by the sovereign authority who has power to make laws, it called as a supreme legislation. So they have power to make laws, policies, ordinance, notification, anything whatever written by them or declared by them come under supreme legislation. Now the second type is subordinate legislation. That means the authority who is inferior to supreme. That means supreme means parliament and the state assemblies. Now in subordinate, autonomous bodies like universities, municipalities, executives, that will come under the subordinate authority where they have power to make certain rules and regulations depending on the parent act discussed by the legislature's authority. So they can make certain rules and regulations, but under the limitation. They have some limitation in their power, they cannot override it. So subordinate means the inferior authority, then the supreme legislation. The supreme authority delegate the power to this authority to make certain rules and regulations for particular act. For example, if any parent act has been enforced by the legislatures, they can direct executives to execute that law, and for execution of that law they can make certain rules and regulation for it. So that becomes a subordinate authorities, but this authority has limited powers in terms of making rules and regulation, but yes, they are also a part of legislation who can make the laws for the enforcement of the law. So there are two authorities, supreme and subordinate. So this is about the legislation where it is a main source of law. You can say a primary source of law because here by giving authority to any person or any department, you are making empowered to make the laws for you. So it is a main source of law, and it is you can say they have the power to make a law for any land. Now let us discuss the advantages of legislation. So we can say legislation has a prime of sovereign authority who can make the laws for any country. So they have, of course, many advantages in their hand. For example, if I today making any law as authority, I have power to undo it also. So here they can make the laws, they can repeal the laws, they can amend the laws, they can change the language of the law. So here they have the main power to draft law according to the need to society or according to their wish. They can undo it, and of course they have power to decide the rule of law scope. They can separate the powers of the authority like judiciary and executives. They are also more have more power than the president because they are not bound by any bound by precedents. If they want to make change by the after the president has come, they can do it because they have the sovereign authority to make the laws. So the legislation has extreme advantages because they have the only authority who can draft the law for any country. Now, second source of law is custom. Custom means something in our habit from since many time. That is our custom, like our personal religion. We are following certain things, like our marriage. We have different types of marriages, methods of having this marriage ceremony, but it is our custom, so we have to follow it. Sometimes the customs also have power to make laws. So if we see our personal laws, they have been codified according to our personal laws, our customs. That in Hindu there has to be some kind of vidhi for having marriage. In Muslim there is a qarar for marriage. In Christianity they have different types of doing marriage. So this is about the custom. That's something you are following since many years. It becomes a custom. It becomes your habit. It becomes into your needs as a society. So custom is again a very important aspect to make an important role playing for making a law. So it about your religious, it about your custom that you are following many years. It has been must be writing somewhere else. So this thing, these customs can also draft the law for us. So if we see in India, we can see our personal laws somewhere related to a custom theory because we believe our custom, and depending on that we have drafted our personal laws. But we have to keep in mind that for custom it has to be unique, it has to be reasonable according to law, and it has to be followed since many years. So we can say that sati, dowry, even though they were custom, but they are not followed today in nowadays. Why? Because they are not reasonable. You can remember the case of Shah Banu where the Muslim one got the maintenance. Why? Because the custom was not reasonable according to law. So if your custom is reasonable with law, it has some antiquity in it, and it is followed since so long, and everyone accepting that custom, that can be part of any law. So for custom, yes, of course, it is again a source of law because from relying on that custom, because we are following it so many years and it has no hinder any provision of the law, then we can make law according to a custom. But yes, you have to keep in mind three things: that it has antiquity, it has been following since many years, and it has reasonableness with the law. There must be a reasonableness. That means it is the custom should not infringe your fundamental rights or rights of any person. So we can see many cases like triple talaq system or Shah Banu case. These are the customs: sati, dowry, child marriages. This custom has been demolished by the government. So because this custom are against the legal system. So again, but yes, custom is a main source of law too. Now third is precedent. What is precedent? Precedent means something settled down by the judiciary. In India, we can say Supreme Court is authoritative court who can who settle the laws for us. If there is an ambiguity in interpretation of law, if the law is not settled, then Supreme Court and High Court can by detaining 3 writs or PIL can settle the law for us. So precedent means something settled down by the law, because if there is a lack in the legal system, or if there is a there is ambiguity in interpreting the laws, and if something is settled by the Supreme Court or by the judiciary, it become a precedent, and from where we can form our law. For example, Visakhapatnam state of Rajasthan. In that case, we do not have law on the sexual harassment at workplace. But from that judgment, where Supreme Court of India provide guidelines on a particular law, from that we have drafted the sexual harassment at workplace 2012. So that was a precedent for us that we as India need a law on this particular subject. And after that we have drafted the particular act on this sexual harassment in the workplace. Same way you can see the triple talaq system. Again we have drafted the law. Same way Shahbano case for maintenance of Muslim women, we have drafted the law. Mohini Jain, Inni Krishnan, these are the cases where we Supreme Court told us to have a right to education as a fundamental right. So again we have to bring amendment in this particular constitution for Article 21A. So this is how precedent plays very important role in drafting or having a source of law from getting the judgment from any particular particular fact or the case. And if found that there is a lacking in legal system, we need a law on this or something settled by the judiciary on any point of view, and they say that this should be done by the legislature, then legislature has to make law on this. So precedent is again a very important we can say aspect as a source of law. There are two types of precedent. First is declaratory precedent and second is constitutive theory of precedent. Now what is declaratory precedent? Here the judges will declare what is written in the law. So anything has been drafted by the authority as a law, they just declare it what is the law of the land. So it is said as a declaratory law where judges declare the law that, for example, this is the rights of the people, these are the duties of the state. So just declared by the judgment that this is the law and you have to follow it. So it is called declaratory theory of precedent. Second is constitutive theory of judicial precedent. In this theory, judges create the laws, and Salman was very agreeing with this theory that yes, even judge can create the law. For example, in Indian scenario, of course, very important case is Vishakha over here again, where Supreme Court drafted a guidelines where there is no law in India. So they create somewhere the law which prevail in India since for 9 years. So of course, even judiciary can create law if there is a problem, there is ambiguity in law, if there is no law in the land. Now there are two types of precedent too: authoritative precedent and persuasive precedent. Now what is authoritative precedent? Authoritative precedent, when judge declare the judgment, then you have to bound by it. That means if anything propounded by the Supreme Court of India, that has to be followed by all the courts in India. That is authoritative precedent. It means anything propounded by the Supreme Court of India, every High Court has to follow it. So that is called authoritative precedent. What is persuasive precedent? If anything declared by the court but is not bound by all the courts, it is called persuasive value of the precedent. For example, any High Court of any state, now that High Court judgment cannot be bound by the other High Court judgment by the other state, because it has their own jurisdiction over particular state, so that have persuasive value. So when you are filing the case in any court, if you have judgment from Supreme Court and judgment from High Court, of course Supreme Court judgment has more authoritative value than the High Court judgment, because it has authoritative value and High Court judgment has persuasive value. So you have to see that which judgment you are quoting in front of the court. So if anything has been propounded by Supreme Court, every High Court of India has to follow that judgment. That means it has an authoritative value, but every lower court or inferior court has to follow it. In persuasive value, that means you can just take into consideration that particular judgment, but you are not bound by it. For example, in any particular fact, if different High Courts is different judgment, that judgment can be followed in that state only, but they cannot be followed in other state. Yes, they can take into consideration, but they are not bound by to follow it. So it is called persuasive value of the precedent. And the last sources of law is stare decisis. Now stare is equal like what is precedent. Stare decisis just says that you have to follow the precedent. Stare decisis says judicial precedent are binding upon the lower court and it has binding force. So it means that anything propounded by the higher judiciary, that has to be followed by the inferior judiciary or inferior court. So this doctrine maintains the uniformity in the judicial decision. That means if something is propounded by the Supreme Court of India, no other court can disobey it. So that in particular one fact, we have the judicial uniformity all over the India. So stat simply says that you should have a uniformity in judicial decision. Anything provided by the court of law, one authoritative court of law, every inferior court has to follow it. So it is just a simple doctrine of stat decisis. So this is about the sources of law, where we have learned the 4 primary sources of law: legislation, custom, precedent, and stat decisis. Thank you.